Associate Professor, Dr. Muhammad Faishal Ibrahim.
Sir, the home team continues to do well in keeping Singapore safe and secure. Prevention and rehabilitation play an important role in our successes. Mr. Vikram Nair asked about our efforts to identify and work with those who are at risk of offending. Dr. Shahira Abdullah asked about MHA's effort to prevent young individuals from offending and reoffending. The police and the National Crime Prevention Council have been jointly organizing the Delta League since 2011. We engage youths through football tournaments, workshops, and esports to imbue a sense of teamwork, discipline, and social responsibility. In 2018, we set up the National Committee on Prevention, Rehabilitation, and Recidivism, or NCPR, to oversee national efforts to prevent offending and reoffending and enhance the rehabilitation of offenders. We piloted the Localized Community Network, LCN, in 2019 to provide support for children and youth who exhibit at-risk behavior. The Youth Go program has been in place since 2012 and engaged around 300 youths each month through structured activities to reduce risky behavior, build positive relationships, and life skills. Thanks to the hard work of the agencies and our partners, we have seen the number of youth offenders decrease by 28% over the past decade. Dr. Shahira Abdullah asked about the percentage of youths who reoffend. The 2-year recidivism rate among youth offenders aged under 20 who were under the charge of the Singapore's Prison Service was 26.4% for the 2019 release cohort. The 3-year recidivism rate of youth offenders aged under 16 who were on MSF's guidance program, probation, or youth homes was 14.9% for the 2016 release cohort. We do not track if these youth's subsequent offences become more serious in nature. Apart from upstream efforts, we also invest in rehabilitation and reintegration. Minister Shanmugam had spoken about rehabilitation in his speech. Our rehabilitation efforts would not be effective if the community is not willing to give ex-offenders a second chance. Dr. Tan Wu Ming asked how we can improve job search prospects for ex-offenders and further incentivize HR practices. Hiring ex-offenders is one of the most symbolic acts of acceptance. Yellow Ribbon Singapore, or YRSG, has built a system of support to incentivize, recognize, and empower employers to hire ex-offenders. Placement exercises are held in prison to match inmates with suitable employers prior to release. YRSG provides career retention support for ex-offenders. For up to 12 months, career coaches work with ex-offenders and their employers to set behavioral goals and resolve work issues. Later this year, YRSG will launch the Friends of Yellow Ribbon Network to galvanize individuals, community groups, and employers to advance second chances. Currently, about 80% of ex-offenders assisted by YRSG are employed in lower wage jobs. MOM will implement the Progressive Wage Mark, or PW Mark, to accredit firms that pay progressive wages. The PW Mark will uplift lower wage workers. Beyond employers, YRSG has put in place a Community Action Master Plan to map out opportunities for the community to be involved and better harness the strengths and aspirations of volunteers. Prisons partners, community organizations, and volunteers to provide pro-social support to ex-offenders when they are released into the community. Under the True Care Volunteer Framework, TVF, volunteers involve them in activities after their release and connect them to wider communities of support. In 2021, all 11 religious partners working with prisons adopted the TVF. We are heartened by the strong support of prison volunteers and community partners. On the drug front, the local drug situation remains under control. However, there are still areas of concern. Among them is the observation that there is a gradual slide towards increasingly liberal attitudes. To better protect Singapore from the scourge of drugs, we will strengthen the three pillars of our harm prevention efforts: tough laws and robust enforcement, preventive drug education, or PDE, and rehabilitation and aftercare. We intend to amend the Misuse of Drugs Act to better regulate new psychoactive substances, expand PDE efforts to forge a national consensus of zero tolerance against drugs, and enhance drug supervision to support former abusers in leading drug-free lives. First, Mr. Christopher D'Souza asked how the Misuse of Drugs Act, MDA, could be made more flexible to deal with new variants of new psychoactive substances, or NPS. MHA will amend the MDA to introduce a new legislative framework to regulate NPS based on their potential to produce a psychoactive effect. This will allow us to be more responsive to emerging forms of NPS. We will share more details in due course. Mr. Derek Goh asked how we address the use of the digital space for dealing drugs. CNB will continue with operations targeting trafficking and abusers who use encrypted messaging applications, such as Telegram. Second, Mr. D'Souza and Mr. Derek Goh asked how we address liberalizing attitudes towards drugs and strengthen resilience for a drug-free Singapore, especially among youth. Mr. Raj Joshua Thomas asked about the impact of our efforts in spreading the anti-drug message. CMB has been leveraging social media to secure mindshare to build a drug-free Singapore. In May 2021, CMB released the short film, Down the Rabbit Hole. The film sheds light on the mercenary motivations of drug pushers and traffickers who had profit at the expense of vulnerable and addicted persons. To involve parents and educators of youth, CMB published an information booklet of staying free from new psychoactive substances. This booklet provides tips on identifying telltale signs that their children are abusing drugs and ways to help youth stay away from drugs. In fact, if you go to the CMB website, you'll be able to see many resources and information. And we also engage in using the social media, such as Instagram and the Facebook. And we proactively share information, and whenever there are arrests, we also share such photos so that we can get people aware and involved in such effort. So I hope you can support us and share our messages and the news and issues that we want to proactively reach out to Singaporeans. CMB also organizes an annual video competition to provide a platform to engage older youths interested in video production. This allows youth to articulate their understanding of the harms of drugs and promote anti-drug messages through short videos. This year, CMB will reach out to more students through pre-competition workshops and provide opportunities for collaboration with CMB to develop PDE resources for their peers. I'm heartened that a home team public perception survey conducted in 2020 found that more than 9 in 10 respondents below the age of 30 were aware of PDE efforts. We will continue to engage our people to forge a strong national consensus of zero tolerance. Mr. Zulkarnain asked how MHA is working with the community to strengthen support for drug offenders and ex-offenders. I had earlier spoken about efforts to support the reintegration of ex-offenders. Former drug abusers will be subjected to supervision by CMB to support them in leading drug-free lives. CMB will be enhancing its drug supervision scheme to better support the reintegration of former drug abusers. Since 2019, CMB has been piloting community supervision skills, COS sessions, where CMB supervision officers will check in on supervisees and assess their residual reintegration needs. If necessary, supervisees will be referred to the appropriate agencies for follow-up. I'm pleased to announce that CMB will be rolling out COS out progressively and with full implementation island-wide by March next year. Mr. Murali spoke on the mixing of abuse while reporting for supervision. Currently, there are different reporting days for youth and adult supervisees to prevent undesirable interaction and contamination. Further, supervisees are not allowed to communicate with each other during reporting and are to leave the reporting center once they are done. I will now speak in Malay on the supportive role played by the Malay Muslim community in our fight against drugs. Encik Zulkarnain menginginkan maklumat terkini tentang kerjasama MHA dengan masyarakat Melayu Islam dalam usaha memerangi dadah. Pada November 2021, sebuah rangkaian yang dianggotoi 26 badan-badan Melayu Islam MMO dan 11 rangkaian bandar M03 telah dilancarkan untuk mengukuhkan kolaborasi dan sokongan bagi para pesalah, bekas pesalah dan keluarga mereka. Ini termasuk badan-badan Melayu Islam seperti Fitrah, Pergras dan AMP yang menyediakan program-program intervensi dan jangkauan. Kami akan terus memberikan sokongan kepada MMO yang lain untuk membina dan mengembangkan rangkaian tersebut. Kempen Dadah Itu Haram DIH telah berlangsung hampir 5 tahun dengan matlamat bekerjasama dengan masyarakat Melayu Islam untuk menyebarkan mesej hidup sihat, hidup bebas dadah. Kini kami mempunyai lebih daripada 230 relawan dan peguam bela bersama dengan 340 rakan kongsi yang dianggotoi pelbagai MMO, kumpulan masyarakat, kumpulan berkepentingan khas, kedai gunting rambut dan tempat makan yang turut serta dalam kempen ini. Usaha mereka ini memastikan kempen DIH dapat memberikan sokongan kepada lebih daripada 650,000 peserta melalui lebih daripada 140 acara yang diwujudkan secara bersama. Untuk mengekalkan penglibatan berterusan di dalam situasi COVID-19, CMB telah menjalankan lebih daripada 20 acara maya dan hibrid pada tahun 2021. Pada tahun 2021, kesemua 71 masjid merata Singapura telah menyertai Hari Antarabangsa menentang penyalahgunaan dadah dan pemerdagangan haram buat kali pertama dengan memaparkan sepanduk DIH dan kain rentang di perkarangan masjid. Acara ini termasuk khutbah Jumaat yang khususnya disiapkan oleh MUIS tentang kepentingan larangan penyalahgunaan dadah dan juga meningkatkan kesedaran tentang bahaya dadah. Tinjauan terkini mengenai DIH amat menggalakkan. Ia menunjukkan sokongan padu masyarakat terhadap kempen ini dan terdapat bukti yang memberangsangkan tentang kejayaan kempen ini dalam menyebarkan mesej anti dadah kepada hayalat sasaran kumpulan yang ditujukan dalam kalangan masyarakat Melayu Islam. Kami sedang mengkaji kempen DIH untuk mengenal pasti titik pembelajaran yang boleh digunakan untuk meningkatkan jangkauan kami kepada kumpulan lain. Kami berterima kasih kepada masyarakat atas sokongan yang diberi untuk memerangi dadah dan kami mengharapkan lebih banyak usaha kerjasama. Sir, I will now address Dr. Tan Wu Ming's question on ensuring proper handover of medical care for ex-offenders. In general, ex-offenders who need further follow-up after release will be referred to Changi General Hospital's specialist clinics for continuity of care. Prison is exploring with SingHealth on facilitating follow-up appointments at other public healthcare institutions which are closer to the ex-offender's home. Before I end, I want to highlight a special group of people, namely our national servicemen or NS-men. Our NS-men serve alongside our regular officers with the same dedication and commitment. Mr. Desmond Chu asked about our plans to enhance the NS experience, and Mr. Patrick Tay asked what more could be done for our home team NS-men. SPF and SCDF will be adjusting operational requirements so that more NS-men, especially those with slight physical or medical limitation, can take on more frontline roles. We are also looking at ways of improving the touch point for our NS-men for a more positive NS experience. This year, we commemorate 55 years of national service. It is timely that we will be officially opening the Home Team NS at Bedok Clubhouse at the end of the year. Sir, the Home Team will continue to work together with the community to keep Singapore safe and secure and free from the harms of drugs. Thank you, sir.